Hey musical architects! Having live drums in your productions can add so much, but they're also one of the hardest things to mix. So let me introduce you to drum replacement, a fairly easy technique in Logic that lets you double up or replace a sound of, say, a kick or snare, so you can pick and choose what kind of drum sounds you want, even if you're not a mixing master. Let's take a look. Welcome back. In a previous video, I took a live percussionist and aligned them with my grid and my electronic drums. In this video, I want to do the opposite. I want to take my live drums and make them sound bigger and better by adding MIDI elements and samples on top of the live drum. But I want to follow and keep the integrity of the drum and of the live playing. Often when we record live drums, it's challenging to mix, there's lots of bleed and sounds going on, and we might not get the full power that we want in a kick or in a snare especially. So what can we do? Logic has a great technique called drum replacement and doubling. You find it in the track menu. So you select the track like the kick or the snare and you go replace or double drum track. So let me play the end result here very quick. You can hear how crucial the kick and the snare is to hold the beats together, to make us feel the groove. But it wasn't always like that. If I just listen to the kick alone for a moment, this is what it sounds like coming from the live drum recording. Same with the snare, not a very big sound. So how do you end up, how do we get to a bigger, fatter sound? We have to double up elements. For example, let's take our kick track here and we're gonna select the track and go Control D or go to the track menu again and go replace drums. Logic can analyze the transients, those peaks, and the loudest peaks are obviously the kick here. I can set my threshold here and set it just enough so it picks up just the loudest notes, the kicks. It's pretty simple on the kick because the bleed is not as big. And it creates a MIDI track right beneath here. And the MIDI track should show a note underneath each kick drum event that we want. So here, I can set the threshold. If I go too soft, it's not going to pick up the softer kicks. But if I set it too sensitive, it will pick up also bleed and snares and other things like here. I just set it around here, in this case about 20, minus 20 dB. I want to say I want to replace or double a kick. Do I want to replace it completely or double it? I want to double it. I want to keep the audio and add MIDI to that, in other words. I hit OK. And now I want to get a MIDI track. And it's a MIDI event, so you can trigger whatever kick you might have in your library, a sampler, a drum kit from Logic's library if you want to, a live drum kick or electronic. It doesn't matter. Any plugin will be fine because it's MIDI. So what I did is I looked for two kicks here, one that gives me a little bit of a low end, and one that gives me a little bit more of a breathy, with a ring, live sounding kick. But together, so adding one by one, and then this one, just gonna make it more impactful. I did the same thing with that side stick and the snare and the chorus. They might have very different volumes and thresholds, so you might want to make a copy of this track, and if you have a side stick in the verse here and a snare like I do in the chorus, do it on two different tracks. So I'm just going to take this on the verse here. Lots of bleed. We can later cut this out with a noise gate if you want to. But for now I'm going to go again Control D, set my threshold, this time select snare, so it creates a different note in the kick, and set my threshold accordingly. So I'm usually just going to zoom in, look at 8 bars, and watch and listen and see if I have a MIDI event underneath each snare or side stick. It's too much. That's it. So if you had lots of ghost notes, it's a bit different. Then it gets a little difficult to get the threshold right, and you might have to cut out certain things. But I often just double up the loud elements and not the soft ones, like ghost notes. I leave that to the live drum sound. For me, it's more embellishing the big hits. Cool, I hit OK. And I have a MIDI track representing or doubling the audio track. In this case, it created a snare. I could go to drums and percussion. I select my top channel strip button here so I get the full instrument, and I'm gonna go drum kit. If I would take Logic's drummer kit, pick a drum kit here, I could choose a side stick if I want to double that, or a snare, and then see and match sounds until I have something that I like. I can always make it louder, add more velocity. So this is a bit soft here. Just dial in the velocity until it sounds right. So the new one, the old one. And then you choose and blend until you find the sounds you like. Live feel, but sample quality sounds. So I hope this gives you some ideas. It's very simple, but you just have to then dial it in and maybe delete a note here and there if that's a problem. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Try it out, let me know how it goes, and have fun. If you want to dig deeper, feel free to check out my Udemy course, where I start from the very beginning of writing a song to the end of production and take you step by step through the process. Thanks so much and have a great day. No matter what, stay unapologetically creative.